Hello world, good evening and welcome to the stream. This is Coding a Roguelike in C, and in this project we are working on building a classic ASCII roguelike, building the entire engine ourselves in the C language, so we're not relying on any existing engines or roguelike game libraries. We're going to dive into all the different algorithms involved ourselves. So just catch folks up and show you where we're currently at. So this is the current state of the game. We are only a couple weeks in, like 3 weeks in, and in that time we've done shadow casting and map generation. Just wrapped up the map generation yesterday, as a matter of fact, and so turned that on with the shadow casting implementation that I'm pretty satisfied with at this point. Like, you can see when you're going through the hallway that it's really casting those shadows properly, and it's also it's somewhat circular, and there's a radius around you. I think we set it to what did I forget, like 8 or 10 or something, so that you can explore the dungeon gradually, but when you're in a room you can see most of that room unless it's a really vast room. So I think that this has come out really so far. I'm happy with it. So when we left the stream last night, there were a couple things that we had started to implement our movement system in preparation to add NPCs or monsters to the game. But there was also there's an issue. Let me bring the game back up. With our rendering, it's really hard to see, and on stream it's probably nearly impossible to see. But what's happening is we don't have any concept of Z ordering or things that are layered on top of each other within a given cell. So what's happening right now is we're drawing our character, our player avatar, the @ symbol, and then later on in the rendering process, we're rendering the ground glyph, which is just the period, and we're actually drawing that on top of our avatar glyph. So that's obviously not something that we want to continue on with. So we need to build in somehow the concept of layering in our engine. And I think I was trying to think about the best way to do that. I think at this point it might make sense. We could just put it right in the visibility. Or we could make it part of position, which I think might make a little bit more sense because we can guess at position a little bit better. Our player, we're always going to want the player object to be on the top, so we can assign that like our max Z position. We're always going to want the ground to be the very bottom layer, and then if there are items or items, scrolls, potions, things that can be picked up, that would be in some kind of intermediate layer. I don't think we want to get, this is a pretty simple game. I don't think we want to get too crazy with the layering, but I think it might make sense to put it at position. So I'm going to add I'm just going to call it layer, and I'm going to make it so that I guess we can make it 1 is bottom layer. And, you know, I guess we can have as many layers as we'd like, but maybe we just go with bottom, mid, and top at this point. That might make sense. So we could just have some defines up here. We'll call it layer bottom, that'd be 0. Have that be, oh, we said layer bottom was 1, didn't we? We could well, let's make it a little bit, let's see, that'd be layer ground. I want to leave 0 reserved for future use if we decide that we that. So this would be layer mid and top. And then we can so it would be initialized to 0 and that would be on set. This is fine. We could just default everything to ground layer. Make it easier. Set it. Well, that's why we have constants. We can always define it. Redefine. Okay. So position. We're adding layer to position. And so let's figure out where we're, what code is affected. So this is where we're adding a component. We're adding component data. So we're going to incorporate copying layer information. Copy the layer information into that. Destroy doesn't get affected. Game object to position doesn't get affected. But we do need to add this to various. We don't have to explicitly set floor, but we probably just should for sure. There. This will be our ground. And wall. So I think we should probably treat wall is a ground type. So I think we would treat that as the ground layer. And then putting the position, the player. Okay, so this is where we're placing the player in a random position within the level. Is this when we assign position to player? I guess it is. So we should. And I'm expanding these into named. To name our structure elements, because this is kind of a cool self-documenting initialization structures. So in this case, we have layer top. because we always want the player to be on top. Everything else going on in the cell. I guess if we have a flying creature, maybe just for giggles, have a layer air, but then we'd have an absolute top. And so the next thing that would be affected is our render function, which needs to take that layering information into account and use it. So what we want to do right now, what this render function is doing is it is looping through all of our visible objects and just rendering them immediately to the console. Dog, chill. Barks at the wind. Okay. So what we want to do instead of just immediately sending stuff to the console, we can immediately write it to the console again, but we want to retain the information that I guess we want to retain the topmost layer that has already been rendered to the console for a given position. So what we're probably going to want is, since we know that layer is an int, we could define another two-dimensional array that's the size of our map grid, and just use that to store the layer value that's been written there. So it's going to look something like this. We still are going to loop through all our visibles, and we're going to get the position for that. And then before, well, we're still going to do our field view check, and we're going to check and see if something's been seen or not. Well, for moving things, we don't want to necessarily do that. It has been seen. Do we? Alright, that's a different problem. We'll come back to that one later. So before we do our put char, we need to determine if we've already something to this cell at a higher level, at the higher layer. And then, so, Hank, cut it out. Easy dog. So we are going to, and then similarly we'll put the same check down before we write to the console here. So we're going to need to declare a, this can be a temporary array, so it can live just for the lifetime of this function, because that's the only time we need it. Once we've rendered everything, we throw away the array. So it's going to be a U8, and it will be, where did we declare our map? Because it's basically going to be the same. Did we do it in world state init? Nope, that's when we, it's in map. Map is where we're going to have max, so it's going to be 80 by 40, or our map width by height. Oh, it's right here. So we'll borrow this from our render function. So instead of a bool, we are 8, signed 8-bit integer. And we want to zero this out, so there are more efficient ways to do this if we basically, if we were to malloc it, we could set the memory to be I wonder if if this zeroes out the memory. Can we just do that? No. Can't, because that would be... Alright. We're going to set everything to... I guess in this case it would be ground, right? Maybe that's why I want the 0 value. Where did I put it? It's in game, isn't it? Layer ground is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And right now we're just going to set this to be layer unset. Store. Alright, so we're gonna layer history. So at this point, it's going to be if... Oh, let's call this something more intelligent than map cells. So it's going to be, yeah, our layer rendered. So we're going to say if layer rendered at our x and y is less than, yeah, if it's equal to, we don't need to rewrite to that position, because we're not going to make any assumptions about the order that the game objects are in the world state. So if we've already written something to this particular cell at the same or a higher level, then we're going to skip it. So I guess what we could do is say if it's part of our position, right? So if P layer is greater than that looks like player. That's a little. So if our, this is going to be P X and arrow Y. So only in this case do we render to the console, and then what we need to do is we need to update our layer rendered. Let's grab this whole thing. Equals our right, we're saving the layer that we just rendered into our history. Otherwise we'll render it, and so duplicate this here, but instead of this code, use this code. So then we'll continue through the loop. When we fall out of the loop, we're going to update our texture and clear screen, swap our rendered pixels into memory, into screen, and then this will fall out of scope and be deallocated. So I am building 257. Yeah, go ahead. So I have a problem. It's saying that can't convert from its Oh. The same way that you took it out, come on. I need to just comment this out temporarily because this was some of the movement stuff I was working on yesterday. It's just... Alright, let's try this again. So, now again, oh, look at that. That's definitely an issue. It rendered it properly the first time, but then my hero disappeared. It's no good. So, I think what's happening, I think I reset the position when my player moves, and I'm not... New position, yes, I'm not setting a layer on my player position. So I need to set that. So the rendering code was working properly because it was rendering around of player. It's being defaulted to a layer 0. Build and run. Okay, so now I am not rendering the period on top of my hero, and now my hero is properly staying on top. Good. Alright, so our rendering issue from yesterday appears to be resolved. Good. Excellent. Progress. Progress. Okay, so moving along, let's go back to that movement subsystem, and I jotted down a couple notes of things that we might want to add to our movement component. Oh, no, I didn't have movement component. Okay, let's uncomment this stuff. So what we had right now, let's go back to our movement component. We added this yesterday, so we decided that our things that can move, some interesting properties for things that can move would be speed, which is how many spaces the object can move when it does move. Frequency, which is how often, this is measured in ticks. Each tick is one cycle through the game loop, or through the game update cycle. So a tick occurs when the player moves. Since it's a turn-based game, the game loop will be spinning the whole time and just rendering the same screen if waiting for player input. But when the player moves, then we update world state. So we can vary how often an object moves, measured in ticks. So if its frequency is 1, then it moves every single tick. If it's 2, it moves every other tick. And then this will be our countdown. How many ticks until the object's next move. And then we have destination here, which I was thinking about this a little bit, and I'm not sure if we want to make this part of movement or if we want to make this part of another component, which I don't think I haven't even spec'd in the enum yet, but concept of NPC AI. So giving our NPC game objects some properties based like aggression levels, whether or not they're hostile to our hero at the given moment, and so it might make sense to include something like destination in that. So like if it has a target, I guess we can always move destination to somewhere else. So, okay, so that's our movement component. Let's just leave it as is for now and head back to the movement update code. So what we built, we're going to loop through all of our game objects and look for objects that have a movement component. And if so, we're going to grab that. So I guess I could do this if I didn't want to copy that information into a temporary struct, which I don't think I really need to do. I can just point to it. So we're going to determine if the object is supposed to move by decrementing the countdown and checking to see if it's less than or equal to 0. So if it's 0, the object will move. So we need to determine the new position based on destination and speed. So we grab the current position of that object. And then we're going to determine a new position, because I just copied this from somewhere else. We didn't actually modify it for our movement yet. And we want to also copy our layer. Got to remember to copy that because we don't want to default that to 0. So we're going to need some kind of logic to determine our new position. And we're going to test to see if the new position can be moved to, and if it can be moved there, then we're going to update its position. And then reset our tick countdown. Now, that's an interesting thing. I wonder if a particular object can't move, does it still basically spend its move turn? Maybe we should put the counter back so that it can try and move again next turn. So alright, so we're gonna do like a really dumb temporary movement just to test things out. and we're just going to pick a random direction for something to move, for the object to move in, and so yeah, we're just going to pick random. So we'll do direction, and we'll do a random number between, what do we want our, maybe we'll just move 4 directions for now, because that's, and we'll just say if say that this is moving to the left. So if direction's 1, we'll call that up. So that'll be y minus 1. Otherwise 2 is going to be x plus 1. To the right, this will be y plus 1. And instead of determine position, say Alright, so if they can move, otherwise we'll do something, we'll reset the counter. Or we'll I'm gonna give it back its turn, basically, if it can't move position that it picked. Yep. So now we need to define something that we can assign this movement component to. So let's create our first beastie. Let's see what, where do we define this? I guess for now we can put it with our other game objects, which are right here. So we'll call it oh, hey there. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that XZC. Any particular reason I'm not using switch? For a case like this, this is far more compact than a switch statement's going to be. I know I've only got 4. I'm not planning to expand it past 4. And this is actually a safer way to write it because I'm not going to inadvertently forget a break, which would allow fall through between switch cases. It's personal style, and you know, I could very easily use a switch statement as well. I do that in other places in the code, but I didn't feel it was warranted here. How's it going this evening? So let's just create a just call it NPC add for now. So we can give it an X and a Y for now. I think we'll probably also end up passing more information in so that we can use this to define different. I'm doing well tonight, thanks. I guess if you're asking about the switch versus the if-else, I guess you're a coder as well. Do you code C, or do you what languages do you typically use? Need all these for NPCs. Our NPCs are gonna have position, visibility, and physicality. Seem to use this code a lot, so I'm gonna take the. Yeah, I like how that's. I like how simple it is as well. I work in higher level languages during the day for my day job, and so it's fun to get down to the closer to the metal. Interfacing with a hardware device. That's cool. So yeah, that's definitely something that C is good at, unless you're dropping down to the assembly level at that point. But are you writing like a device driver, or is it's just a library that will access a particular device's API? Okay, so we're going to give it a position. It's going to take the X and Y. It should take a layer, unless we want to say NPCs are always at the top level. Let's just send it in as a parameter. Crap, what did we call layers? It's a U8. So we'll pass in the layer. Oh, nice. Reversed engineered the protocol. Alright, so what should our first beastie be? Something simple like a goblin or a kobold or an orc or something. What languages I use in my day job? Right now, Swift and Java, because I do mobile development for iOS and Android. Do the occasional bit of web programming, so things like PHP, JavaScript, some Python occasionally. but mostly Swift. I'm doing mostly iOS these days. Which is actually it's a nice language. They've seemed to have taken a lot of the nicer bits from various languages, so it's very succinct. Do I prefer it to Objective-C? Yes, in terms of writing it, yes, it's much nicer to write. However, I've been running into some, especially with Swift 3 and iOS 10, I've been running into some really strange bugs and crashes that, like today I ran into a crash where it didn't even log the crash. It just vanished, like the app just poof. It hit a memory issue and it just vanished with no crash log, no error message logged, nothing at all. And so it's stuff like that where it's like Objective-C, it would crash, but it would at least give you, some breadcrumbs to follow. And so I don't know if this is if it's something that's a Swift thing or if it's in the one of the runtime libraries. But it's not all roses and unicorns. Alright, so we've got we're going to want to add a movement component now as well. Do game object add component. On our floor, let's change this stuff out. Get rid of the copy pasta badness. Add it to our NPC and the component. What types of things do we want to assign to our speed, frequency, and then it's going to be, we'll ignore destination for now. Speed, frequency, ticks until smooth. Set this equal to frequency as well. We'll initialize it. Use some Objective-C as well. Yeah, I mean, I liked Objective-C. I was coding Objective-C from like iOS 3. Before it had the automatic reference counting and some of the nicer Objective-C 2.0 features, which, I mean, made the language a lot nicer to use. So it's, I don't dislike Objective-C, that's for sure, and it's nice that you could drop down to C whenever you needed to. But Swift is, for doing iOS coding, Swift is, they're really making it very well integrated into the frameworks and making it easy and succinct to call the various frameworks. So they're even, I mean, they've open sourced Swift, so we may see people running with that and doing server-side Swift, which would be cool. It'd be a heck of a lot better than JavaScript on the server. So we'll see. Alright, so we're going to send in a movement component, parts of our movement component as well. So we'll send in a speed, and that's going to be, what did we, for all U32. We should just make everything E2 because this isn't 1980 anymore. We don't need to save all the bits. Oh, that's not what we don't. We just want speed and frequency because we have enough information to set up ticks. Have we done any work with Swift plus C libraries? I've done Swift plus Objective C, and it makes that very easy to do. It will auto-generate some header files for you. And if you're in Swift, it will, actually maybe both ways. It will use, if you're in Xcode, it will do auto-completion. So it's pretty easy to do. But Swift plus straight C, I'm trying to think. Well, yeah, I guess I have, there's a lot of the apps that I've built use SQLite, and that is still a straight up C library. So to build a Swift wrapper around that, there is some integration. All right, so we've got our npc add function. It's going to take an X and a Y. It's going to take a layer, so basic position, and then it's going to take a couple of movement options. And then we're going to set blocks movement is going to be true because it's a thing, it's a person. Block site. Do we want these things to block site? I think unless they're super massive, I don't think we need like creatures to block site. That would be weird. And then we need, we should send in what the glyph's gonna be. So we need visibility information. Action layer. Let's do send in glyph information, and then should we send in a foreground color? Let's do it so we can have different color features. Hey David, how's it going? By any chance do I know C++? Yes, I do know C++. I coded in C++ for several years, but it's been a really long time since I coded in C++. Like, we're talking late 90s. So why do you ask? Hey Salad Dongs, how's it going? What languages does everybody code in? Alright, so we've got our NPC add. I think it doesn't quite build. We have an error on line 212. Object ID. Oh, there's missing an arrow. I have no head on my arrow there. No C++ 11. That's for 14. Even 03. No. When I was coding C, the standard template libraries had like just come out, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are already out of vogue. And they were just the hip thing in my was to use like spark pointers and all that. Personal preference, C style, C++. Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely some bits of C++ that are nice, such as operator overloading. A lot of people do that. They just borrowed like a few bits of C++ without necessarily going down the object-oriented rabbit hole. Ah, so the STL, that's still a battle, huh? Still. Let's see. So I think we've got our NPC add. I'm just going to do a quick build test. I've got a problem in because why is this here? This is needed elsewhere. I should move this now. Compilers are so slow. Yes, they are. Oh, you gotta build up all those virtual pointer tables, and I think the linking is a lot more involved. And I'm gonna move this Ken because we need it inside of our game. I think this becomes more of a system. So I think we need it here. I think that will alleviate my build error. So yeah, so alright, so we're building now, but we haven't actually added templates, yeah. Well, class tree hell is probably one of the main reasons that I moved away from C++ and why I really don't like using Java. Because I've seen too many people and too many code bases that say, oh, look at all these objects, everything should be an object, and everything should be this massive hierarchy of objects. And it just gets really messy. Zero class is nice, just structs and functions. Used to install Java on your machines. Yeah, it's, I mean, again, you can, the thing about C++ is you can pretty much avoid all the object-oriented stuff if you want to. In Java, there's just no avoiding it. So yeah, I mean, that's why I'm having fun with this, kind of getting down to the metal, manipulating all the bits and having to worry about memory management. Exercising those portions of my brain again. So if that sounds like something that you are interested in, then be sure to hit that follow button and join me as we build out this roguelike. Happy to have you along for the ride. Alright, so we're going to add some monsters, and I'm trying to, let's see, where do we want to do that? I guess we have a level in it, don't we? Yeah. Maybe that's the place to add it. Whoa, where'd you go? yeah, Java, everything is an object. Hey, Salad Dongs, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Don't have a specific entry point exposed. Yeah. Hey, is it Fill Point or Fill Point? How's it going? Alright, so we've got, I think level init might be a good place to put that because this is where we're putting the player. Let's generate some. Let's generate some monsters. So right now we're just going to hard code our monsters. So we're just going to put so we'll do yeah, well, I mean, Google, they built the whole virtual engine, the whole Dalvik VM. So, you know, Java compiles to bytecode. If they had some sort of language that, as a first step, targeted the Java VM, it might not be as difficult. I think the difficult thing is there's so much code out there already written for Android that you'd have a tough time convincing developers unless you made it super easy to switch. Can I really fast explain the pointers in C? The star before the variable. So, okay, super fast. Let me see if I can find where we're at. Okay, so this game object right here, game object star wall, that indicates that this game object is a struct that I've defined elsewhere. And wall is the variable. So by declaring, adding this asterisk here, the star says that this game object, it's a wall is a pointer to a game object. So it often helps to read it from right to left. So pointer to game object. If this star wasn't here, wall would be the struct itself. And it would be allocated on the stack as opposed to on the heap. So C forces you to think a lot about memory management, and so if you just declare something like int x within a function, it will allocate this, enough memory, the size of an integer, which is either 32 or 64 bits on most systems these days. It allocates it on something called the stack, and then you get back, that memory, and that variable is bound to that particular memory. So update the assign to the variable, it writes into that memory. If you get a pointer to something, that means you're not accessing that memory directly. You're getting a pointer to the address. And so when you're allocating a pointer, or when you're declaring a pointer here, if I just had, int star x, that's allocating enough memory for the pointer. It's not allocating memory for what the pointer is pointing at. So if I'm pointing at a struct, I need to allocate the memory for that struct separately using something like malloc, which allocates that memory on the heap. But what was your specific question about, like, explain the pointers? In C, when you pass something that's not a pointer in like a function call, it gets copied. So it'll copy that memory. You're operating on a copy in the function within the function. If you send a pointer to something, then it makes it possible to operate and update the thing itself, because you're just getting a pointer to that memory location, and then you can go and manipulate that memory. All right, so let's let our NPC add. I'm just gonna copy this so that we can. We're gonna do. Let's add three different beasties. Perl is a write-only language, yeah. What is it? Write. Definitely is. Yeah. Fill point. There's a couple good books or papers about pointers, and right now I'm rereading for the. I've read this book several times, but this is a good book for current modern C. It's called 21st Century C, and it's an O'Reilly book. But there's some older documents, open source. I was just reading it the other day. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, here it is. Okay, let me put this up real quick. Hey, Phil Point, thanks for the follow. So this is where it's this one right here. There's a couple papers published by Stanford or by a guy at Stanford, and this is one of them. It's called Pointers in Memory, and there was another. So it's cslibrary.stanford.edu and then /102. It's just pointers in memory. There's a PDF you can download there. And that kind of explains it decently. But there's a couple others at the CS library at Stanford that are older docs. I mean, they were written several years ago, or by several I mean like 10 to 20. But they're short docs and they're pretty good intros, so if you want to check those out. Alright, maybe I should make a function that will place something randomly at an open position in the level, because I'm gonna. Yes, that's true. You also have the arrow versus the point, which can definitely mess you up at first. Random dude, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Let me write a quick function that will borrow this. I think think I have defined something called point. So it's gonna return a point, and it will be let's call it level base object get open. Return a random position within the level that is open. Probably gonna have to pass map cells in. No, map cells is global. Looks really complicated. Don't be intimidated, random dude. What language are you learning? C. So yeah, this is perfect then, because I'm using fairly vanilla C. But it can be. It definitely takes some getting used to. And is it your first? So C is going to be your first programming language that you learn. Is it hard to learn? Well, I'll let chat weigh in. From a language standpoint, it's not that difficult to learn because it's a fairly small language. Yeah, I agree. But there are definitely a couple of gotchas. And it's at a much lower level, so it will, to do certain things, it will certainly take more code. If you were to code everything from scratch. But there's so many libraries out there, and so it's definitely very possible to be highly productive, easily as productive in C as higher level languages. I'm going to comment this out for a second so that I can test my new function. So what I want to do is test my point. let's just do this. Let's see if this builds. We'll build, let's see if it works. Okay, so we've randomly positioned our person without destroying everything. That's good, so let's go ahead and finish up that monster add. So we're going to want some more. Reuse our variables here. So our first two parameters are the position. We're going to make this monsters be at the top level again. And then what kind of glyph are we going to give? Oh, it's not what I wanted, Sublime. Let's make it a G. That'd be a ghoul, it could be a goblin, it could be whatever at this point. Let's make it red. So it'd be AA. Speed is just going to be, it's going to move one square and it'll move every turn. We got the one. Let's add 3 monsters for now. Yeah, random dude, that's a big, the answer to that question depends entirely on who you ask. The nice thing these days is that you can write fun games in any language, really. Certain types of games may lend themselves more to languages with certain types of features, but let's call this guy S, and then we'll have like a K. I don't know. And then we can make this guy be like, I'll have a green, a red, a green, and a blue guy. Really simply, so they're all going to be on the top layer. They're all going to move. We could make one slower if we wanted to test some of this stuff, or we could have one that moves. Oh, well, right now I don't have moving 2 squares factored in to my movement. Is this Sublime text? Yes, it is. Text editor is Sublime Text, and I use it on Mac and Windows, and I like it. quite a bit. But I'm still, it's really hard to switch between key bindings between Mac and Windows because they're just different enough that I'm always confusing myself. Alright, let's see. Let's see what we can do. Build. Alright, so it builds. Let's see what we got. Right, no monsters yet. See if we can find them. Theoretically, they're out there. Just yet. Where are they hiding? Maybe they're not actually here. I'm suspecting that perhaps they didn't actually get added to the map. Let's see. Did we skip a step or forget a step? Repeating history, when will I learn? Giving up a position. Are we adding them? A game object create, yeah, so that should add it into world state. Oh, I should take this. I should take the foreground color, and I should actually use the glyph that I'm passing in. So those are. I wonder if it was rendering it as a period, and I just didn't notice it because it was subtle. That'd be funny. Let's see. Oh, well, there we go. Oh, and there's my kobold. You guys see them moving around? They're moving super fast because I have not defined my tick properly. But they are correctly not. You can see one of them moving around here. They're not bumping. They're not going through walls or anything. So that's nice. And the third guy won't appear until I actually see him and mark him as has seen. So where's that third dude? Oh, there he is. Kobold on crack, yep. That's for sure. They're all on speed right now. So the problem is that in my game loop, I am doing movement update on every single time through the loop. And since this is a turn-based system, I actually only want to have everything else move when my player moves. So what I'm going to do is, like we have recalculate FOV, I'm going to have maybe I'll call it player moved, because I can see other things that we may want to base on whether the player's moved or not. And so if player moved, then we're gonna update the rest of world state movement. So now we just need to set, in addition to recalculating our B, set player moved. And then we need to initialize our Oh, we can do it within our done loop, so we can do it at the outer level. Cool. Let's see. See if we have crazy monsters on crack again. Oh, look, there's our kobold, and he appears to be moving once per turn unless he picks a direction that's bad. In which case he's gonna... That's awesome. Look at that. Let's see if we can go through. Good, we can't move through him, and we've pinned him now, so that's okay. Good. So our movement, the physicality of our monsters is correct. We can't move through them. They can't move through us. That's good. Let's find our last beastie. Is he lurking? So obviously something we've got to fix is the fact that this is my field of view or field of vision, and yet I can still see where a snake is, because of the visibility. I'm not handling that. I'm not handling that properly yet for things that move around. Where are you? There he is. Oh, he's like stuck in a hallway because 2 out of his 4 options are non-moves. Okay. So there they are. And I can't move through him, so that's good. Perfect. Oh, good. This was a productive session. I'm going to make a note to fix visibility for moving things. Side our FOV. Yeah, that'll be good. X, how do you even say X, Z, C, F, C? Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Should be yeah, today was definitely productive. Let's see if we can maybe we'll just go and we'll go for a few more minutes. We'll fix that visibility issue. So the problem is that in our render code, let's find that render screen. There it is. In our render screen, we're checking the visibility component for an object, and hey, Saladonks, yes. What am I doing for drawing the ASCII graphics? So I'm using SDL2 to handle cross-platform graphics functionality as well as the cross-platform input handling. And so what I've done is I'm treating an SDL texture as just a pixel buffer, basically. And so I have this this little library or set of functions that I've written that treats that as a console, so that I can do something like console put character at and give it an X and Y coordinate and a glyph, and it will write to those. It will write to that area of the pixel buffer with alpha blending and all that stuff. With a foreground color, background color, and it does support the alpha blending, which is something that I wanted to do. But that is the extent of how I'm using SDL. Right, so right now our visibility has this has been seen property, and we're setting it to true for the object if it's if we're seeing it, basically. So the first time we see it, we mark that object as has been seen, and then every subsequent game loop after that, we're going to render everything that has been seen. And we keep track of whether something has been seen so that we can render it in like a faded out color. Hey David, how's it going? Yeah, that's how I'm doing Saladong. So yeah, I'm doing it all in software as well. There's no hardware acceleration or anything because I wanted to go through it in software and do the alpha blending and all of that stuff. So if you're interested, all the stuff is on in the GitHub repo, so you can get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on there. It's really not that big in terms of lines of code. Nope, this is true C. So what we want to do for things that can move is maybe not pay attention to has been seen. Since when does C have a type U32? Since I type defed it. Where did I don't even remember where I put it. Oh, right here. Looking right at it. So C has this uint8_t, which is a lot of crap to type to declare an integer. So I just type defed a bunch of standard C types to something that's more easily readable, quite frankly, and easily typed. So maybe if something moves, we just want to ignore this flag entirely. Because we only want to render it if it's in our field of view. horrible type naming. Oh, you're talking about Hungarian notation? That, yeah, there's another example of a good idea gone really horribly wrong. Ooh, it's pretty late. All right, let's see if I can do this one last bit, and then I'm going to call it a night. So, how are we going to determine if something is movable? I could just look and see. Maybe I should add something to visibility. That's probably the better way to go. I think what I'm going to do is, in addition to has been seen, I'm going to add another bool that is how long have I been coding? I've been coding in one programming language or another for probably 25 years. Has been seen. So I want a flag here that's like visible outside FOV. Should you not just be recalculating the view if it's inside your view area? Should remember where the snake was. It shouldn't update. Well, I want things to move even when they're outside the field of vision. So I want to update the entire world state and then render it to the screen, but what I don't want is for monsters to be visible outside of the player's field of view. So I think I'm going to add something here. But other things I do want to be visible outside their field of view, like the previously seen portions of the map. So like if they've been down a hallway once before, and they're, it's outside their field of view at this point, we still want to record that on the screen so that the player, knows, okay, I've already been to that part of the dungeon, I've seen that. We have a lot of folks in chat that have a lot of X's in their screen names. I'm just noticing that. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. C# is a nice language as well. So I'm going to create a flag that's like hidden. Maybe I'll do it this way, visible outside FOV. I wanted to do something that would default to false, but that's okay, that's fine. You like the longer type def names? Yeah, to each its own. It's cool. there's definitely something to be said for clarity of type, but I think it's important to be whatever your naming conventions are. It's important that you're consistent, and that's probably the most important bit. All right, so let's add. We just added this visible outside FOV. And where do we want to? Thanks for the follow. Is it going to just be aims, maybe? Is that what it is? I appreciate the follow. Welcome aboard. And you folks that are following now are just getting in kind of at the beginning of the journey. I'm on day 16, I think, of coding, and each coding session is really only like an hour to 2 hours tops. So we're not that far in. So we got visible outside FOV, and then we're going to want to add it in here, visibility. So for floor, our visibility outside FOV is true. Floors we want to be visible all the time once we've seen them. For NPCs, the opposite is true. We want visible outside FOV to be false. And then walls are going to be the same. It's going to be true. They're always going to be visible once they've been seen. Alright, so now that we've added that flag, where else? Are we doing any more visibilities? Nope, I think that's everything. Okay, so now what we need to do is go into our render loop, and in this case, we need to add a condition or clause. So if that particular thing has been seen, or maybe we'll do it this way. So if what do I call it? Visible outside OV. So if this particular object is visible outside the FOV and it has been seen, then we render it. Otherwise, we don't. Let's build this. Okay, it builds, so let's play it. All right, so now let's find our beasties. Where are they lurking? Oh, okay, so here's our cobalt. So when this guy leaves our field of view, we should no longer render it. So I'm going to go over. He's following us. All right, so he's outside our field of view. He's right here, and so this is our field of view. So if we come back into the room, we should see him. There he is. Awesome. find. So that appears to be working as we would like it to. Okay, there's our goblin. And oh, there he is. Oh, there he is. Oh, now you see. Now you don't. Now you see him. Now you don't. Perfect. Alright, well, I'd call this a successful coding session. We added a bunch of stuff. And then see, there's our snake, and now he's gone. Cool. That was a good session. Oh, where'd my task list go? I'll bring it back. Why that shut down? There it is. Okay. So we finished our map beautification. We are on to monsters. We've kind of we've done this, make sure the player cannot walk through a monster and how to make them move somewhat intelligently. They're moving pretty, they're being pretty dumb right now. We've just got some really basic random movement. But we did hard code the monster and put them in the dungeon, and we got the visibility and field of vision working properly. Next stream we'll be continuing to build out the monsters, probably giving them the concept of some sort of AI. Could I not also add a view struct and a position struct so enemies are visible when you last saw them, where you last saw them based on the view value? I could, if I wanted to, kind of record that and provide that information to the player, but I don't know that that's. I think that would be misleading to the player, because the monsters are going to continue to move. So to have the point where they were last seen kind of continued to be shown to them, I think that's more confusing. How did I learn to memorize the code? Self-taught or do a class? So both. In terms of self-taught versus taking a class. I have taken, I have a degree in computer science, so I took years of classes in formal computer science and learned several languages in a formal class setting, but before that and since that, I've self-taught myself a lot of languages. Once you learn one language and once you learn some of the fundamentals, learning new languages is a lot easier. Classes aren't nearly as useful as they pretend to be. Self-taught, more productive. I would say, yeah, classes are good for the core concepts and the CS fundamentals and learning basic data structures and algorithms. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's good to learn in class. There's probably no better teacher than just doing it. Work through some examples either from a book or just make up some, you don't even have to make up coding questions anymore. There's tons of sites out there that have like various coding exercises in increasing levels of difficulty that you can just work through, and that's the best way to learn the nuances of the language, is to just code up various projects and learn different features of the standard library as you go along. But yeah. So I think I am going. It's late here, so I am going to call it a night for tonight. Thanks everyone for watching. If you want to catch previous streams, all the archives are on YouTube. And like I said, we're only, I think this is day 16, so there's not a ton of archives at this point. But if you want to hit me up with any questions or comments, it's at PDCodes on Twitter, and all of the source code is on GitHub at the address there. Oh, there, right there. And if you are interested in following along, hit that follow button, and you'll get notified the next time I go live with a stream. I also tweet when I'm going live on Twitter, so you can follow me there to get those notifications. But thanks everyone for watching tonight, and I'll probably be streaming either. I usually stream, starting between 7:30, 8 p.m. Pacific, and go until my brain is too tired to code. So hope to catch you on the stream again soon. Thank you, and good night.